Hey guys, welcome to Cape and Cowl Café. I'm Nemo, and today I'll be ranking the Avengers based on their chances of beating Batman in a one-on-one fight. If you guys enjoyed the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button, but let's just hop right into this. Alright, before we get started, just a couple of ground rules. I will be pitting the base comic book versions of these characters against each other with the equipment and abilities that they usually have. So I will not be putting Batman in the Hellbat armor, because if he did, he would beat most of the characters on this list. And that will hold true for the rest of the Avengers, so no Worldbreaker Hulk, no Extremis Iron Man, no Captain Universe Spider-Man, just the base versions of these characters and the way that they usually are most of the time in the comics. And another rule for this video is that neither character will be granted prep time. I know that prep time is Batman's whole thing, but I honestly think that it's a crutch. And I mean, sure, yeah, he's good with prep time, but it only really works for people in his universe. These fights will be random encounters. No one gets prep time. They just have whatever equipment they have on their person. And I mean, you can give them equipment that you think that they would realistically have, but no prep time, random encounter, just a one-on-one fight. All right, kicking off the list in last place at number 14, we have Falcon. Now, I like Falcon, but he's essentially just a dude with wings. And he kind of had powers before in the comics. A while ago, you know, he had a psychic bond with birds and with his pet bird Redwing, but now they've changed it to where it's just a drone, and he doesn't really have any powers. He's just a dude with wings. Sure, he was in the military. He's a pretty good hand-to-hand fighter, but he's not the best strategist. He's not that smart. There's no way he's taking Batman down, all right? I'm giving Falcon like an 8% chance of beating Batman. It's really just not happening. All right, next on the list at 13th place, we have Scott Lang, Ant-Man. I really don't think Ant-Man's going to be able to do much to Batman. I mean, if it was Hank Pym instead of Scott Lang, we might be having a different discussion because of Hank's intellect, but Scott's not really doing anything to Batman. I'm giving Ant-Man about maybe a 10% chance. I mean, the size changing could be something that would confuse Batman for a second, but I think he would catch on pretty quick and he would be able to detect him. He has detective vision. He has multiple sensors and systems in his cowl. So he would be able to see where Ant-Man is, he would be able to anticipate his moves, and he would take him out. It wouldn't be that hard. I really just think Ant-Man lacks the skill that it would take to take on Batman effectively in a hand-to-hand fight. He just would not be able to keep up. All right, next on the list at 12th place, we have Hawkeye. Now, Hawkeye could be a problem for Batman if the fight was exclusively at a long range, but Batman's not going to keep it that way. He's going to be able to find a way to close that distance without being seen, and then the fight will become a very close range encounter, and Hawkeye will just not be able to keep up. Hawkeye is a very skilled combatant, and he's very good with weapons, but Batman just outclasses him by, in a few different categories, and Hawkeye just will not be able to handle everything that Batman throws at him. So I'm going to give Hawkeye a 20% chance of beating Batman, because while Hawkeye is very good and very skilled, Batman's just a little bit better. All right, next on the list at 11th place, we have War Machine. Now, I'm giving War Machine a 30% chance of beating Batman, which I think is fair, and it's just because of the raw power output that his suit has. But I think that he lacks the intelligence and knowledge of his suit to be able to take on Batman effectively. And I think that Batman would pick up on this. He would notice that War Machine isn't as confident with his own weapons as he could be, and Batman will definitely use that against him. And while War Machine is, he does have the excellent military combat experience, and he's a decent strategist, he just does not hold a candle to the skills and experience that Batman has, and he will not be taking down Batman. So I think that 30% is pretty generous. He's not beating Batman. All right, cracking the top 10, we have Black Widow. Now, Black Widow might be one of the most skilled characters in Marvel Comics. She has enhanced human strength, speed, durability, endurance, reflexes, stamina. She even has a slight healing factor in the comics due to an altered version of the super soldier serum given to her in the Red Room while she was training to be a Russian spy. She's one of the world's most skilled hand-to-hand combatants. She's a master of stealth. She's a master acrobat, master at espionage. But she's still not beating Batman. I mean, that might be a hot take, but I'm giving her a 45% chance of beating Batman. It's pretty close, but I still think Batman takes the win more times than not. Now, if you wanted to use the super soldier serum as a basis to decide on who would win, we might as well consider Batman a metahuman, because with the serum, Black Widow is able to lift 500 pounds, but we regularly see Batman lift 800 to 1,000 pounds. It's just completely unrealistic, and it's not a reliable way to decide who would win, because Batman is still stronger, even though he doesn't have a super soldier serum. So I think this would be a pretty close fight, and while their skill sets do match up pretty closely, I think Batman has the edge in multiple categories. And yes, Black Widow was trained by the Russian government in the Red Room, but Batman had a multitude of teachers, including Ra's al Ghul, as seen in the Ghostmaker storyline. So I think Batman takes the win most of the time. All right, coming in 9th place, we have Iron Man. Now, Batman versus Iron Man is one of the most debated versus matchups in history. But I think Batman wins. I'm giving Iron Man a 45% chance as well, and I'll tell you why. I think the strategy for Batman winning this fight is pretty simple. He would just have to eliminate the technology in the fight for both sides, and then Tony is screwed. He can't do anything in a hand-to-hand fight against Batman. And before you say, oh, you can't hack Tony's suit, it's unhackable, it's super advanced technology, whatever. Batman was able to hack alien technology in which a human being should have no knowledge of. He was able to hack Darkseid's Hellspores and was ready to detonate the entire planet.
The Hellspores, they've been activated.
Impossible. The arming code is encrypted.
I broke the code and reprogrammed them.
You're bluffing.
Omega Lambda 7 XL9. That sound like a bluff to you?
Do I think he was really gonna blow up the whole planet? No. Do I think he actually cracked the code? Yes, because he's Batman. So why wouldn't he be able to do that with Iron Man's suit? Also, while Batman is not using the Hellbat armor or the Justice Buster armor in any of these fights, he still knows how those suits work because he designed them. He would definitely recognize the similarities in design between Iron Man's armor and his own, and he would be able to find weaknesses and take them out. So while Iron Man has a lot of raw power with his armor and his weapons could overwhelm Batman, I do think Batman takes the fight most of the time, which is why I'm giving Iron Man a 45% chance. He's just not doing much to Batman if Batman is able to eliminate the technology from the fight, which I think he would be able to do pretty quickly. All right, now let's say that Batman was able to disable Iron Man's weapon system, so now they have to fight hand to hand. You know, Iron Man still has the armor, but he doesn't have any of the missiles or the weapons or anything. Batman is still winning. I mean, you could make the argument that Iron Man's AI would analyze Batman's fight pattern and, you know, help him fight more effectively, but he's still not winning, okay? Because Batman knows over like 100 forms of martial arts. He could easily confuse the AI by switching up his moves and using variety to, you know, kind of confuse it and still win the fight. It's not happening. I really just think Iron Man relies on advanced technology too much, and he doesn't really give himself a lot of plan Bs. He's not as skilled in other things, while Batman, he has used armor like that in the past, you know, in the comics, but he doesn't usually because he thinks it limits him and he doesn't want to rely on it. He thinks it makes him a worse fighter.
Oh, and another equipment request. Did you ever consider a bigger build?
I did. Too heavy. Slowed me down.
That's why I think Batman wins. All right, next on the list in 8th place, we have Captain America. Now, Batman and Captain America have fought before in the comics. They fought here in the JLA Avengers crossover in the 90s. And while it was brief, it did give us a lot of information on who would win. And I think we can, you know, all come to the conclusion that it would be 50-50, okay? They're pretty much the same when it comes to skill level. Sure, Captain America does have the edge when it comes to strength and speed with the super soldier serum, but Batman just has a lot more experience, and I think he does edge out the combat category. But their fight in the comics is really interesting because if you look at it here, it's not really a fight. It's more of like a mental game. They're kind of testing the waters with each other, you see. So they didn't really fight. They were just testing each other's abilities, but they did come to the conclusion themselves that it would be a very long, drawn-out fight. It would not end well for anybody. Now, you could make the argument that the shield would play a role in the fight, but I don't think the shield would actually be present. I think either Batman would be able to disarm him of the shield, or Cap would just voluntarily drop it and just, you know, fight him like a man, hand-to-hand combat. And yeah, while Captain America is stronger, Batman is no pushover. Let's remember, he should be considered a metahuman because he regularly lifts 800 to 1,000 pounds. I think the standard for a regular human in the DC universe is just crazy, you know? He should not be considered a regular human being. And I think in some cases in the comics, the government actually does consider him to be a metahuman. They know that he's a very dangerous individual. I mean, there's that one scene from the comics where I think they adapted it in the DCAU as well, but it played out a little differently, where the Justice League was going to turn themselves into the government, but Batman said no, so he wasn't present. And when the Justice League shows up, they're like, where's Batman? And they're like, oh, we couldn't make it. And they're like, oh, we were only really worried about Batman. If that doesn't tell you how dangerous he is, I don't know what will. So I think giving this fight a 50-50, you know, percentage, I think that's fair. They're pretty evenly matched. All right, next on the list in 7th place, we have Spider-Man. Now, this is a fight that is also heavily debated on the internet all the time. And this is the first fight where Batman is gonna lose. I think that Spider-Man has a 60% chance of beating Batman, and he would win most of the time. While Spider-Man isn't the greatest combatant, he is an excellent strategist. He has a crazy IQ, but the thing that's going to set him apart from the other fighters on this list is his spider sense. You know, a lot of other characters have a weakness that's more visible. You know, like Batman will be able to figure out what's going on. He sees Iron Man, he's like, oh, it's a big metal suit, I need to disable it. Or he sees Falcon, oh, the wings, that's the weakness. You can't see a spider sense. It's part of Peter, and Batman wouldn't be able to figure out what's going on quick enough. He won't be able to figure out why Peter is dodging every single attack. I don't think Batman would be able to really land a good hit on Spider-Man because he's just too fast and he just sees everything coming. It's not fair. And that's just mentioning his, speed and spider sense. We haven't even talked about his webbing or his super strength, which Spider-Man is incredibly overpowered when it comes to the strength category. I think a lot of people underestimate how strong he is. In the comics, the max weight that he is able to lift most of the time is 10 tons. And he exceeds that all the time. I mean, there's that comic panel where he's lifting the Daily Bugle and waiting for everyone to evacuate until he drops it. That is just insane. Batman cannot really match up to that. And yeah, while Batman fights people that are stronger than him all the time, it's really the spider sense that's gonna give him the edge. Batman just won't be able to keep up and he won't be able to land in a good hit. And it will only take a good few hits from Spider-Man to take out Batman. I mean, we're talking about a guy who can lift 10 tons and also dodge lightning. Batman's not going to be able to do much against that. So yeah, I think that Spider-Man has a 60% chance of beating Batman in a fair fight. And I think that's being pretty generous to Batman because Spider-Man is just ridiculously overpowered. All right, in 6th place, we have Black Panther, and Black Panther is also winning this fight most of the time. I'm giving him a 70% chance of beating Batman, and it's really because he has the advantage in most of the categories where him and Batman would be competing. I mean, he's richer, he's arguably smarter, he has better equipment, he's a better fighter, he actually has superpowers. So Black Panther is everything that Batman is, but with superpowers. I just think it's going to be really difficult for Batman to land a good hit on T'Challa, especially if he's wearing the vibranium armor that redirects kinetic energy. And Batman would have to find some kind of crazy gadget or technique to take on Black Panther. But by the time that he has, Black Panther has already blitzed him, it's too late. There's not much that Batman can do. So yeah, Black Panther wins the fight 70% of the time. He's just stronger, faster, smarter. He has more, equipment at his disposal. I mean, he runs an entire country. He has an entire country's worth of resources. There's no way Batman is beating him without some kind of crazy circumstances. All right, breaking into the top 5, we have Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange isn't normally an Avenger in the comics, but a lot of people know him from the movies, so I thought I'd include him. But Batman is not beating Doctor Strange. Strange wins 75% of the time, and it's really just because he has so many random abilities at his disposal. And Batman could win with prep time. If Batman was able to get the drop on him and disable his hands, before Strange was able to react, he could win the fight. But since there's no prep time in this challenge and both fighters are aware of each other's presence when the fight starts, there's no way that Batman is going to be able to make a move without Doctor Strange doing something weird. He's going to turn him into a bird or separate his body from his spirit or something. There's just no way that Batman is taking the dub in this encounter. I mean, Strange can manipulate time, he can create portals, he can clone himself. There's just not a lot of things that Batman would be able to predict when it came to this fight. Strange has just so many weird abilities that would just overwhelm and overpower Batman. Batman throws any kind of gadget, boom, a wave of the hand, and it's a marshmallow. It doesn't do anything. It's useless. All right, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these last 4. In 4th place, we have Vision. There's no way Batman is beating Vision. I'm giving him a 75 to 80% chance. He's essentially just a super strong, indestructible android. He's just super overpowered. You can kind of consider him Marvel's version of Martian Manhunter, where he has some of the same abilities. He's got density shifting, intangibility, super strength, super speed, flight. There's just not a lot that Batman can really do against an opponent like that, especially one made out of the materials that Vision is made out of. He's in some of the comics, he's like a weird vibranium hybrid type of material. Batman's not getting through that. All right, cracking the top 3, we have Hulk, and Hulk should be higher on this list. He should be, like number 1 or 2, but the reason he's number 3 is because there is a very slim chance that Batman could find a technique to either tranquilize him or calm him down. Some kind of weird plot armor crap that you'd expect, Batman to learn from the Tibetan monks. But I just think that most of the time, that's not happening. Hulk is way too strong, too fast. He's going to overwhelm Batman. Not much he can do. So Hulk is at like a 85% chance of beating Batman. All right, in second place, we have Thor, who is essentially just Marvel's answer for Superman, but without the weakness. And because of that, and because this challenge doesn't have any prep time involved with it, both fighters are aware of each other's presence when the fight starts. Thor is just taking out Batman within 3 seconds. There's nothing that Batman can do against the God of Thunder. He's gonna get lightning called down upon him. He's gonna get crushed by the hammer. Thor's just gonna, speed blitz him. It's over. So, to be generous to Batman, I'm gonna give Thor a 90% chance of beating him. That extra 10% I'll just give to Batman as a little present, but there's nothing that Batman is doing against Thor. All right, in first place, to no one's surprise, we have Scarlet Witch. She just doesn't make any sense. I don't even think it's really fair to put her on a list like this because she just, could say, Batman doesn't exist anymore. And then boom, Batman's gone. He never existed. Or, she could just turn Batman into, like a jelly bean or something. It's just kind of incomprehensible how badly she beats Batman in a fight. So obviously it's 100%. Without prep time or some kind of crazy contingency plan or some kind of insane circumstances, Batman is losing 100% of the time. And since there's no prep time in this video, this challenge or whatever, he's gonna die very brutally. All right, guys, that's gonna be about it for this video. If you guys enjoyed at any point today, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button and drop in the comments some Marvel characters that you think Batman will win or lose against. I love having discussions with you guys, and I know that a lot of you will probably disagree with me on this video, and that's totally fine. More comments for me to read. It's really fun. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.